everyone, and welcome to this video where today I'm going to be filming my 14-week pregnancy update. As always, if you see me looking down, I have got my notebook here in front of me with all the bits that I wrote down throughout the week. So I'll start off with some of the symptoms that have stayed the same this week. So to begin with, I have been having really bad spots and acne again. That's again all around kind of like the mouth area and up the cheeks, all those like hormonal places. Personally, I can't see this improving for me throughout the pregnancy, just knowing what my skin is like anyway. I think pregnancy is like a really hormonal time and afterwards as well, so I think that is something that I am now going to have throughout the rest of this pregnancy. Something that I have noticed again this week that I had last week was headaches. I did mention last week that I kind of inconsistently can have headaches quite a lot anyway, but I've had headaches that last all day, don't go with tablets, and then are like lasting through the night, like I'm waking up and I still have a headache, and even sometimes into the next morning. That's usually like the maximum time that I'd have a headache, which obviously is not ideal. It's a long time to have a headache. They're not like really painful headaches, but they're just more like low level. It's just like not nice, is it, having a little bit of a headache? So yeah, that tends to start on a Tuesday, tends to be the day I get a headache. So it tends to be like later on in the day on a Tuesday, then I'll have it through the night, and then it'll usually go by some point on the Wednesday. So they're quite like long lasting. I don't tend to get them on other days. It tends to be kind of like all condensed over the space of like 1 or 2 days. But it's starting to make me think it might be more pregnancy related, as I don't tend to get too many headaches through the night. I have done in the past, but like it's not a super common thing for me, so I think it probably is pregnancy related. Another thing that I mentioned last week was that if I had had a busy day and then came home in the evening and had like a little bit of a 10-minute lie down, that once I then go to get up again, that I would have quite bad lower back pain. Kind of feels a bit like nerve pain, but I have had that throughout this week again. It's really difficult to describe because when I'm lying there it's fine. It's when I go to get up again, I kind of have to like roll over onto my side and very slowly ease myself up again, because you kind of just end up catching it a little bit funny. It doesn't last any longer than the evening. It tends to be just that little bit of the evening, and then once I've gone to bed and wake up in the morning, it's gone and it's absolutely fine again. But yeah, it can be quite like very like painful in like little bursts. So yeah, I think that's probably just the way that I've been like lying down to relax after having a busy day. Something that I did mention a couple of weeks ago was that I was starting to get stretching down the sides of my stomach again. I think obviously now where I'm getting to the point where I am getting a very small noticeable bump, that obviously I'm growing a lot more, so you're going to feel the stretching. The baby is obviously growing, getting bigger each week, so that stretching is just something that you're going to continue feeling beyond this point. Leading on with that, I have also had the pain in my ribs again, as mentioned, where I've got a really short torso. I think everything is just getting a little bit squashed around there. So yeah, that can be a little bit uncomfortable, especially in the evenings, but I think as I start to grow outwards a bit more, that may relieve the rib pain a little bit more for me. Something new that I have had this week, and completely in pregnancy, as I never had this with my last pregnancy, is round ligament pain. So that is kind of down the sides of your lower stomach, kind of in this kind of shape. It's really difficult to describe, but it's kind of going down into your pelvis like this. I can feel quite sharp pains. This tends to be like if I'm getting up, or sometimes if I've like sneezed or something like that. Now, at first I'd heard of round ligament pains. I didn't really know where they were meant to be. So I was a bit like, oh, that's a very sharp, sudden pain. but I think where I've had it quite regularly throughout the week, I did have a look into it and it's pretty much exactly where you would find round ligament pain. I did end up mentioning it to the midwife as well, and she agreed that this was round ligament pain. But yeah, I did never have that throughout my first pregnancy, so that is something new. But as mentioned, it can be quite like a sharp pain, but it tends to be from like a sudden movement for me that I will get it. If I do get round ligament pain, it tends to be more on my right hand side as well. That's where I tend to feel a lot of my pain on my right hand side, and I think that's where the baby tends to sit a lot more as well. But I did hear that it's actually quite common to have more round ligament pain on the right hand side as well. Another update is that I have come back to going to bed very early again. I had a week obviously where I was away and I was staying up late, and I think maybe the week following that I hadn't quite got back into my normal routine yet again, so I was having nights where I was a little bit later than normal. However, this week I have gone back to going to bed really early, and getting that 9 hours sleep where I can. As mentioned a couple of weeks ago, constipation again has been something that I've noticed a bit more this week. I wouldn't say it's particularly a problem at this stage, but I've noticed it a little bit more so than normal. Again, it's something that I had in my previous pregnancy, but it was a lot further along, so hopefully it doesn't get too much worse throughout the pregnancy as that goes along. A positive update as well for the week is that I've not noticed the unwell feeling before lunchtimes that I was getting. I was getting this most days, especially when I was working. Kind of that hour up until lunchtime was starting to feel really quite unwell. I couldn't quite describe what the feeling was. I just didn't feel well, but that seems to have gone, touch wood, this week. So hopefully that won't be something that returns for me now. And also tying in with that as well, I have noticed that my hunger has started to return, which is something that I've not really had in weeks. But usually my tummy is like rumbling through the morning, but I've not had that for a long time now, but I have noticed that starting to return again this week, so hopefully that's a positive sign for my appetite moving forwards. But that's it for the updates this week, so I'll go ahead now and show you my 14-week pregnancy bump update. So this is the bump at 14 weeks and 6 days. I don't really feel like I'm getting much bigger at the minute. I think I'm just filling out near the top and like rounding off a bit. But yeah, 14 weeks and 6 days. So that's everything for my 14-week pregnancy update. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next week. Goodbye.